everyone. So, we're going to switch things up and I'm going to talk directly about no matter what you've been through, how to get the things that you want, even if you're going through chaos and trauma, and even if you don't feel fully healed yet. Welcome to Key West. Here they come. Woo! So, this is a mind shift, okay? It really is. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't heal, and if you need more healing videos, if you're in a newer part of that journey, did I do this before? So a lot of this has to do with our energy, because why? Because where attention goes, energy flows, right? And so we have to remember this. So when we're healing, it's okay to heal, but don't forget to replace that healing and replace all the work that you've done with the things that you do want, the places you do want to go, the people you do want to meet, the things that you do dream of. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to keep going in the same circles. And a lot of times people can make these mistakes. And I've made this mistake temporarily myself in moments where it's like, well, I'm still healing, so I can't do that. Or I'm not ready to date and see other people, or whatever the excuse is for the trauma that I specifically had gone through in my life. Or even just if it was career related, like I'm not ready to do that, so I'm going to wait. Listen, don't think that all of this good stuff is going to happen in your life by just sitting there and waiting for it. Anybody who tells you that you are going to just get whatever you want because you're thinking about it, that's not true. That's not true. In fact, it's all about the type of action you take. And so I'm going to teach you a little trick today about an action that you can take starting with your mind. So I know I've talked about this before about like, oh, if you need change in your life, why don't you just order something new on the menu at the restaurant? Okay. And I totally believe this because it does kind of trigger and fire and wire those neural pathways to go do something new, which is always very healthy. But what this is also doing is it's also teaching you to take a chance, right, on something that you might want. And if you don't, if you end up not liking what you order, then just don't do that again. Okay. But at least you're not staying stagnant in the same thing. And I think a lot of times people do this in relationships, they do this with their careers where they just stay stagnant, and we're all guilty of it, myself included. And I think that whether it's because it feels familiar or it's comfortable or there's a guarantee on the other end of it, that's all well and good. But just remember that you could use the 80-20% rule, where 80% of the time you're still doing the same things, you're just trying to do them better, okay, trying to improve the way that you do them. And then 20% of the time you're doing something different, okay. And so for me right now, I think that this was helpful so that I could actually force myself into believing something was possible, okay? Because a lot of times when we're healing, it does require us to go back to the past. We don't want to stay in the past. And the more we think about it and the more we focus on it, the more of the past we're going to remanifest into our life. That's just how it works. So we can still be aware of our old mistakes and our old patterns and go, okay, that's right. That's the old me. Let's not do that. And I am in that stage right now of like, wow, okay, I used to be that way. I used to handle things that way. I used to feel that way. I could predict when the old self would maybe pop up and the new self comes in because I've practiced so much. That's what this is. So 20% of that practicing. Okay. So here's a little trick that I'm going to teach you today, something that you can do that has helped me. I'm sure it'll help you. In the past, I've always said, order something new off the menu. Okay, well, what if you did that, but you did it as if the restaurant, you got to use your imagination a little bit here. What if the restaurant was your life? Okay, okay. So imagine this restaurant. Okay, you could go to this restaurant and order whatever you want to happen in your life. By the way, you can also go to this restaurant and order what you don't want to happen in your life. And a lot of you are probably thinking, why would I do that? But we all do this all the time, every day. Every time we talk about something we don't want, it gives it more fuel. Okay. And right now, you might be thinking, yeah, Kristen, but if I have trauma and if I have things I need to work on, how in the heck am I supposed to do that? Okay. So you want to back it up with a positive thought and make sure that the positive that you're ordering outweighs the bad that you must bring up to heal through it. Okay. So This is not sweeping it under the carpet. This is not encouraging you to invalidate your feelings, okay? But emotions are emotions for survival. Feelings are what we make of our emotions, okay? And a lot of times we use this to know what we don't want so that we know what we do want. And I'm going to say that again. We only know what we do want through what we don't want, right? But we have the tendency to repeat what we don't want more than what we do want. You still with me? I know it sounds like a little twisted here, but I promise you, this is a great way to break it down. So, if you imagine that the restaurant of life, okay, restaurant of your reality, has everything on the menu, and there are specials, and maybe the special could be a certain amount of money, maybe it could be a specific person or type of friend. Oh, there's a palm. That's a palm branch, Truffles. Be careful. Good girl. So, or it could be a career, right? All right. So, a lot of times what we do is we sit there and at the restaurant and we go, well, I don't want this job that I have right now. I wish I had this other job, but I don't want this job because of XYZ. And it makes me feel tired. And it's not really what I want to be doing. And I don't make enough money doing it, blah, 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 blah. And you'd say, why? Because you're justifying why you don't want it, right? We all do this. But what if you spun that around and you said, I want this job because I want this out of my job and I want to make this amount of money and I want to be surrounded by these types of people. Isn't that interesting? And it's that tiny little shift that you do that could make or break, stall or hurry up this whole manifestation process. And I know that some of these words are a little esoteric, but hang with me here because I promise you this is how it works. I hit a very low point in my life. I went through a lot of trauma. I made a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of things and went through a lot of situations where I couldn't make sense of any of it. And I knew that I had to pinpoint what it was that was causing me to continue these cycles. We all do this. It all comes from childhood for the most part. Sometimes it could come from traumatic situations. It's really important to know what they are so you then can start developing the new version of you so that you can point that old version out and push that old version away so that old version of you isn't continuing to manifest your new life. It's literally how it works. And for me, I wanted to go to therapy to help me do this. So I went to therapy and then I did a ton of cognitive behavioral therapy so that on my own, with a book that I'll put in the link in the description below. It's in my Amazon store. I'm serious, you guys. This stuff works. And it's because your subconscious mind is back there. And a lot of times we don't even know why it's saying what it's saying, right? We might not even realize it's doing it. So if you put your order in at the restaurant and say what you want, chances are it's going to come faster, down to healing. So for me, I wanted my healing to come at lightning speed because I did not want to suffer. I did not want to be the victim. I did not want to hurt. That's just not what I wanted. And I started to heal so fast because I made my healing my top priority. And while, yes, I had to go in and fine tune things and figure out why I was doing things and what hurt and what didn't hurt and what felt right. But if I still focused on the answers of becoming a better version of me more than I focused on what had gone wrong, that's when the miracles started to happen. That's when things started to work out for me. That's when I started to feel healed. That's when I started to feel like, ooh, I want to go somewhere else around the world. Ooh, I would like to go to dinner with this person. Oh, I would like to spend a lot more time with this person. Like all of these things where initially I just felt so closed off and I just wanted to stay in my little cocoon and heal and I was going to be fine. And I did do that. But it goes so much faster when you focus on what you want. And I know that a lot of us are impatient. Some things take time. But the longer you're focused on the problem, the longer it is going to take for you to get to the solution. So I was solution oriented. I have been most of my life, with the exception of certain things that I would overthink because I would try to make sense of them. These were a lot of things that were out of my control. And there are things that are out of our control. But what if you won the lottery? Do you even know what you would do with that money if you won the lottery? And a lot of you might go, yeah, I know exactly what I do. But do you actually? Because a lot of people that win the lottery end up depressed. They end up spending it all. And even the people that are like, no, no, I would never do that. I want to be smart with it. That's because they haven't changed what's inside. So even the good came and the subconscious and the bad stuff that caused them to be in debt in the first place was still part of who they were. Okay. Most of them end up depressed. Some of them end up in jail. It's really crazy, actually, if you look at what happens. And so, and I'm using this example because it's easy for a lot of us to relate to that fact of like, oh yeah, if I won the lottery, I would do this, this, and this. Well, what if you won the lottery after you'd already healed yourself? What if you met the right person after you healed yourself? Okay. That's when it gets magical. Okay. And it can happen really fast if you just focus on that. What if, you all of a sudden get that amazing job after you've healed yourself? Okay. After you learn to put this order in at the restaurant, once you've gotten through this stuff, that's the other side. That's when nothing can break you. And once we practice this enough and we bring this into our life, that's when those real miracles happen. And they do happen. I am living proof because there are a lot of miracles happening in my life right now. Okay. So just know that when you go to this restaurant and you put your order in for what you want in life, the most important thing to do when you're doing this is put yourself in the feeling of what it would feel like to have that. I'm going to say it again. Put yourself into the feeling of what it would feel like to have what you're putting your order in for. Okay. And isn't it interesting how, like, when we bring up bad stuff and then we get that icky feeling, once you do that, you're going to create a vibration that's going to attract more of that. So be careful. And that's why in some of my earlier videos, I talked about the 16, 17-second rule, where if you can feel and think about what you want for that amount of time, okay, consistently, that's when you're starting that momentum. And that's with anything. So why not act like it's the restaurant of life, and you're going to put your order in and you're going to enjoy putting your order in. Think of it like, I love sushi. And so I get really excited when I get to like go order sushi. And I know it's kind of a silly example, but imagine if you could think of your life like that and put your order in that way. Okay, I hope that this made sense to you. I hope that this has helped you today. And I'm going to conclude this video with letting you guys know that I am leaning back into my creativity now that I'm feeling a lot stronger now, and I'm working on new music. And I have quite a bit planned for this summer when it comes to finally getting out my new music and even releasing older music that hasn't been recorded yet. I am going to take you guys along with this process. And for me, where I'm at in my journey, I'm ready to bring back in some of my cinematography skills. I love to fly a drone. I love to storytell, but also take these little lessons in life and put them into works of art in video form and in music form and in art form. And so I used to make a lot more cinematic vlog type videos. And I am going to still be giving these healing lessons, but I'm going to be doing it in a more creative way. So, and I'll still talk to the camera and we can still hang out like this. And I'll still be uploading videos like this. But I just want you guys to know, those of you who have been with me, thank you. And if you ever need any help on any of this, you can always go back on the playlist, the Daily Healing Journal, because that's what these videos were for. And that's what they are for. And they will forever be on my channel because I fully believe in healing from anything, whether it's trauma, narcissistic abuse, any kind of abuse whatsoever. And I always want to stand here and be an advocate for anybody out there who struggles. And just know that it's okay to acknowledge the struggle. It's okay to acknowledge what happened, but don't forget to override all of that bad stuff with what you want, because you're going to get more of what you put your attention on, because where attention goes, energy flows. Okay. So I want to bring more attention to the intention that I have behind being a creative person, which is helping people while also fueling my creative juices, making fun content, and also touching and deeper content here on YouTube. So thank you guys so much. And I hope that helped you today. Don't forget to put your order in with the Life restaurant, right? And put in what you want to happen. And I'm telling you, the more that you just, even if you feel like you have to brainwash yourself into believing that it's possible, meditate, do whatever you have to do to get yourself to, even if it doesn't feel like it's real, practice every single day, even if it means you have to write it down by hand instead of typing it on your phone. All right? I hope that helped you. We'll see you next time.